we start our next section on hypothesis testing. Hypothesis testing is relevant because in our world you'll hear people make claims all the time, right? If I had more money, I would be happier. If I become a vegetarian, I'll be healthier. Global warming is caused by human activity, right? If I can get a good job if I go to school. All these are claims that people make in the world, but the question is, how do we know if they're true? How do we test those claims? So what we're going to introduce today is a hypothesis test or a significance test, right? And it answers questions and answers that question, right? Basically, is this sample outcome good evidence that an effect is present in the population? Meaning that if we collect some data, does that data show that there is something going on in the world so that we can actually make these claims? Or, right, the thing we observe in the world, is that just occur by chance, right? And the reasoning is follows, right? Suppose for the moment that we assume there's some effect, right, not present in the population. Okay, that's important there. And then if we observe something in the world that's very unlikely to occur given this assumption, right, then that should be evidence that maybe that the no effect is false, that, right, maybe something's actually going on. And so the idea of a hypothesis test, right, we wish to test whether or not a claim about a parameter is true. And again, that term parameter, what we're talking about, again, is a value from the population, right? And here are some more specific questions here. Will at least 52% of the voters approve Measure B in the upcoming election, right? Jerry claims his car averages 37 miles per gallon, right? And so these are example questions that we could test. If we were in class now, I would say, let's go and think of some of your own questions, and we can then discuss if we can statistically test those things with a hypothesis test or what we call a significance test. Those words are used interchangeably. And what we're really looking for, right, what we don't know often is the true value of a parameter. We don't know what the value is in the population, right? Thus, we can never prove if a claim is actually true. But what we can do, right, we use a statistic, right? One, hopefully it's unbiased, an unbiased estimator of the parameter, right, from our population. We use the statistic, right, the sample data as evidence as to whether or not a given claim is true. And so what we're really looking for is evidence against some number or some assumption. That's the idea here. And so how do we put a claim on trial, right? Hypothesis test is kind of like this idea. It's kind of like our judicial system, right? We assume a man's innocent, we gather evidence, and then we show if he's really innocent, right? If he's really innocent, the evidence will be extremely unlikely. It's more likely to believe that he is guilty, right? Oh, yeah, make sure you read that correctly there. And so the logic of the hypothesis test here, right? The logic of a hypothesis test is that we're going to assume a value of a parameter to be true. We gather data, and then we show that the given assumed parameter value. We show that given the assumed parameter value, the data and statistics would be extremely unlikely, right? The data that we collect. Thus, it's more likely to believe that the assumed parameter value is not true, right? If we collect some data and observe something that doesn't match up to what we think the value is, then maybe that value is not true, right? The population value. And so what we're looking at here is, again, make sure you make this note, we're going to calculate a test statistic, right? We're going to have sample data statistics, and we're going to calculate a test statistic here. And we have to go through a formal process of defining what we call our hypotheses. And then we calculate a test statistic, find the probability of obtaining that statistic under our given conditions, which is called the p-value. And then we have to make a decision, right? And so, for example, looking at this, Jessie takes a 20-question true or false quiz. She claims she guessed on the entire quiz. Would you believe her claim or reject her claim if she got 11 out of 20, right? She makes a claim. I guessed on the entire quiz. She got 11 out of 20. Would you believe her? She gets 19 out of 20. would you not believe her, right? And so that's kind of the essence of what we're looking at in a hypothesis test. How do you make your decision, right? Because in either case, right, if she got 19 out of 20, right, was she lucky, or is she lying and saying she didn't study, right? And that's what a hypothesis test would be used to kind of test that claim.